Okay, so lab 6, we're actually going to start kicking off the content of this course. And we're going to basically do a review of C++ arrays. These are without classes. By the way, this is going to be the only programming assignment that does not use classes. We'll quickly jump over to classes after this, but I wanted to make sure we at least have pulled together everything, or a lot of what we learned so far with makefiles and testing and Git and the autograder together, because the first time we always try and put those things together, things happen. So we need to at least have one lab where we try and put it all together and see how well we can get it going. That is correct. Wow, you are absolutely correct. That is the wrong, excuse me. That is definitely the wrong webhook, so let me go fix that now before something happens. All right, much better. All right, so in order to add the webhook, this should be similar to OOP. Y'all did the autograder in OOP with Professor Henderson, right? Maybe? Yes?
Didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I did not.
Why did you like it? What was wrong with it? You didn't, or you just don't like being told you're wrong?
No, well, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But a certain little thing caused me to lose like 3 hours of work, and that was lovely.
Oh, okay. All right. Well.
It was the day the thing was due.
Oh, so you started the day it was due, and something broke,
I
and.
was finished and I was committing.
Oh, okay.
I was committing it for the last time, just so I get my grade. And as I committed, I quite literally watched my file disappear.
Ooh, it disappeared. Where did it disappear from?
Don't know. But it was there, and it's gone. Like,
Well,
no
as
more.
long as you committed it, you can always revert it.
That's the thing. Like it didn't work. Like
You didn't commit it?
I click commit, and then the
You
file
click commit.
disappeared,
Oh,
and then
Ooh.
it's just
clicking.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the clicker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how we had to do it. We had to do it through NetBeans,
Oh, NetBeans. Oh, yeah.
which is another thing. I don't like NetBeans.
You don't like NetBeans? Oh, okay.
I mean,
Which one do you
It
prefer?
has some things that are good, but overall,
Well, which one do you prefer?
I prefer
The terminal? Okay, good. I do as well. I was just curious. Some people prefer other ones. By the way, IntelliJ is so far the best free IDE I've had to use, but Visual Studio still wins for the best paid one. But they don't release it for Linux, so I don't use it. All right. So how do you add the webhook? Go to GitHub, go to Settings, click on Webhook, Settings, Webhooks. That's actually, let me scroll over, it says add webhook. You put in your password, you type in the URL, and make sure it says JSON. If you have the other one, it will not work. It must say JSON. And when you put it in there, it should turn green. Let's find out if it does, because it might not. Also, it'd help if you're allowed to copy it. Perfect. There's no secret. We have no secrets here. Make it active. And yeah, eventually it should come up. Let's find out. I didn't say anything. Okay, let's go back to webhooks. Ooh, red. What does it say? Not service timed out. All right, so there is currently an issue with it. Am I not allowed to get to it? Not sent. Okay, so it's up. There's something wrong with the back end, so I'll need to go in and see what the problem is later on. Do add the webhook, and if it says timeout or something like that, we'll have to get to that in a moment, right after I finish this lab. Keep in mind that the first push can usually take 5 to 10 minutes because it has to pull your entire repository before it can do anything. But then afterwards, it usually takes less than a minute, most of the time less than 10 seconds for you to get your first grade back. Okay, so instructions, this lab's review of C++. There are many similarities with this in Java, but we're going to go ahead and do a quick lab. Your header file should be sources arrays.hpp, and the other one should be arrays.cpp. Let's go take a look. Source arrays.cpp. Boom, there it is. And arrays.hpp. And there's our header file. All right. When you submit this, I do not need a main.cpp. You can create one. Make sure you only put your main inside of main.cpp. If you put it somewhere else, the autograder is going to fail you and give you a 0. Implement the following functions however you want to, but make sure you implement them inside the source directory. Count negatives returns the number of elements in the array that are less than 0. So I'm going to pass you an array, the number of elements in that array, and you are allowed to assume that size is correct. And then you need to return the number of values that are less than 0. We good?
What do you mean by it doesn't need a main file?
Remember how in the just recently when I was doing the next iteration of makefiles, I created that main.cpp as a separate file?
Yes.
I don't need that file. You don't need to commit that. You can if you want to, but I don't need it. I'm simply testing your implementation of these 4 functions. Because what the autograder does is it's just going to take your code and then run my CSS test gen unit tests and figure out how many you passed, and then give you a grade based on that.
All
right? Find minimum odd, find the smallest odd value, returns -1 if there is no odd value. All right. Return the index in the array where a value is found. So the array, the size, and return the value. The value it's looking for. It's going to return the index. Okay, we'll go a little more in that detail when we do our test. Last one, removes an item at position index by shifting later items left. Returns true if and only if index is greater than or equal to 0, which is strictly less than size. Okay. You do need, I highly recommend you write test cases. This is where things start to get fun because students hopefully will start to see why if you don't write test cases, sadness will occur. Although for this one, it may be pretty easy. It should be due a week from today. Hey, I got that one right. Let's go ahead and do this. So, we're over here. We can type in make, and it goes ahead and compiles it into int-array test, and I can run it. And what it's running is main.cpp, this file right here. I included this because there are 2 ways to do your test cases, or 2 ways I see it in this class. You can write them manually inside of main, or you can use the CSS test gen in order to create them. I highly recommend you use the test generator, the unit tester, to do it. Because if you use main and you try and switch out your different tests, it's going to become cumbersome very quickly. While the unit test way of doing it, since you're encapsulating each test in its own file, it's going to be a lot cleaner. So let's go ahead and look at our test. We have an empty test, so let's go ahead and copy our empty test. And which function do you want to test first? The first one. Good. All right. And I'm going to call it, because typing out count negatives is way too much typing, I'll just call it the cntest.cpp. And let's see if I can make cntest. All right, great. So let's go ahead and cn-test. Oops, it's in the test directory, not in the source directory. And I'll go ahead and get this started. So if you look over here, it's first given an array. So we need to come up with an array of values that are integers, by the way. All right, someone start typing in values.
I will not remove this.
Now you can see how many people actually log in. Go ahead, type in some numbers. All right. Okay. Sounds good. And so if we call, remember the function was count negatives with the size, so we should do count, I already forgot how to spell it, negatives with array. How many values are in there? 6. What number should it return? 1. All right. Okay, let's run it. Failed. Hey, why did it fail? Probably because if we look at our count negatives always return 0. Probably why it failed. That was a good first test. What's another good test to run? Whoa, that was weird. Let's try that again. There we go. How many should it do this time? Yeah, all right. Hey, it passed one of them, probably because it just guessed correctly. I'm going to delete that, Y3 down. What's another good test?
You could have 0 do one numbers.
Oh, that's a good idea. Make that 0, and this one -9, so what should the value be? 1. These are good test cases. Notice how I'm generating a new test each time. Because you want to make your test as simple as possible and take advantage of copy and paste as much as you can. Any other ideas? One thing that may trip you up. What's going to be the answer here?
0.
Correct. Why is it 0?
It's not going to read in the -9.
Right, so it's not going to read in the -9. By the way, a test you should always test is this. Always do that test. Because, well, in actuality, I think you're going to need to do this if you want it to compile. Because you want to make sure that if you pass it in a null, it doesn't automatically blow up. Let's see, cannot be overloaded. So that error, notice your functions have to have different names. So let me change it to test 5. There we go. Huh! Wow, success rate 60%, probably because a lot of our answers are 0. So we probably should come up with a test where there's multiple times it has to count the negatives. Ooh, let's do that. I like this. -0. What's the answer here?
5.
It is 5, because -0 does not have a sign. It has to be less than 0. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty good. This is a good start for writing your test cases. How long did that take us?
5 to minutes.
5 to 10 minutes? Well, writing this file, I should say. Probably, it took us maybe a minute or two to write the file. I mean, setting it up took a while, but you have to get the setup. But now that it's up and running, you can quickly type these out. I highly recommend doing it this way. Okay. Well, what about the next one? Find minimum odd. Hey, you know what? Let's do this. We'll do find minimum FMO, find minimum odd test.cpp. Notice I'm copying from the cin test. Oops. And this time, was it find min odd? Sure, find min odd. Okay. So first one, what's the minimum odd value here?
-9.
-9. How about this one? How about this guy?
-9.
-9. This one?
Same thing.
Notice that the size is 5.
Oh, that's good.
So 5.
So it's going to be 5 this time. Ooh.
It depends, is 0 even or odd?
Neither.
And
It is-
-1.
0 is even. Because, sorry, an even number is a number where there exists an integer k such that 2 times k equals that number.
2 times 0 is.
I had
Yeah,
this
two-
discussion with one of my teachers and they told me just not worry about it because it's neither, and I was like,
Well, looks like we might have a discussion if they come to me. Is she a math teacher or I'm assuming so?
I don't remember who it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the definition of an odd number is there.
Send him to Dr. West.
The definition of odd is there exists an integer k such that 2 times k plus 1 or minus 1 equals that number. Okay, and then yes, you said that the value here has to be -1. Why is it -1? Because returns -1 if there's no odd value in the array. Are there any odd values in that array? Nope. So -1 has to be the answer. And how about the minimum here?
-89.
-89. All right, now if you look at this, there's really one more test you should have, and that's if,
They're all evens.
yeah, they're all evens. What's the problem? Speak up.
Oh, no, sneezing.
Oh, sneezes.
My life.
Yeah. Now let's make sure all these run.
You didn't fix the last output, I don't think. Like the test case.
Oh, yeah, nice. I was going to mention that. One thing about these test cases I'm writing right now is this is what, at a first glance, we believe is correct. So keep in mind that most of the time it's actually going to be your code, but every once in a while, the test cases we write in class may be wrong. Good luck finding an error with the test cases I have, since I've done this lab multiple times. So I get this every time. I'm going to get it every time, every semester. I love it. A student comes up to me and says, Dr. West, I don't understand. My code's running perfectly, but your autograder is giving me a 0.
Dr. West, you did it wrong.
Dr. West, you did it wrong. Uh-huh. Sure I did. Yeah, that's it. It has to be me. There is no other possible explanation. But that's okay. I'll make fun of you. I'm good. I like that.
See, whenever anything goes wrong, I already know it can be somehow.
It's good to, it's good to start, but if you can't understand it, definitely come and talk to me. I'm not saying the test cases are perfect. I every once in a while find an error in them. I'll admit that, but chances are y'all won't. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. All right, so this is, hey look, we have 7 test cases. What's very important about your test cases is they're each testing something different about the code, and the test cases are very compact or short. I like to use the word simple, but we'll call it short. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, you're right, that did take 5 minutes. You're right. All right, next comes search, where we have the array, the size, and we're going to get a value. So let's go ahead and copy over our last one. We'll call it search test.cvp. And this time, we go flying bin value, we're going to change it to search. And now we need to pass in the size and then what we want to look for. Let's look for the -9. We look for the -9. Let me go back and make sure the array, the size, the value we're looking for returns the index in the array where the value is found. So we're looking for the -9. What is the index of that one? 5, correct. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everyone see that? Let's look for -9 here. Is it in there? What does it say we return? Return -1, the value is not present. Let's go search for 0. Where's that one?
Don't you have to pass the number of indexes?
Yes, good catch. So this is the test of it's in there, but we tell the size to be 1 less than it. So the answer should be -1. So not in there, it's empty, always a good test. Array size 6, let's look for, I don't know, let's look for -89. Which one's that it?
Yes.
Which one?
4.
4. All right, y'all do this one. Oh, now you're ready. Got to go into insert mode. Everyone good with that? All right. Let's make sure it runs. All right, it compiles. We fail a lot because we haven't written the code yet. All right, and lastly, we have remove. Oh, we're doing great. So let's go ahead and just copy test search test remove dash test.cpp. Oops. And we're going to change search to be remove. Ooh, now this is where things are going to start getting a little hard to do. Because fortunately there's not necessarily a nice way to test these things. Because let's go up to here. Let's go look at what's happening. See, we have this, we want to remove, how does it do? Remove size and the index we want to remove at. So we want to remove not the 9, but index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what is that going to do? It returns a Boolean if it succeeded or failed. So we're going to go ahead and stick with that for now, true, because it should be able to remove that 9, right? But there's something else we need to test as well. What's that?
That is shifted.
That, yeah, it shifted or moved everything. So there's different ways to do this. I'm going to show you probably the simpler way to do it. Void, let's see, is equal. I'm going to create a function that's going to see if two arrays are the same, have the same elements when passed a certain size. ARY sub 1 sub I is equal to ARY sub 2 sub I, and then it's going to return it. So it's just going to iterate through the two arrays and make sure they're equal. So in order to do that, we need to create an answer array. Well, it removes the 9, so it should look like that, right? So then after this, we just call is equal, passing in the array, which should have been manipulated there, our answer, and then the new length, which is 5. How are we doing? All right, down here, let's say, oh, now we try and remove something that's not there. So what does this remove? Index -9. Was going to remove. I mean, was it going to return? Sorry, return. False. Thank you. I really hope so. So then the answer should be the same thing it was up there. And we'll go ahead and confirm that each of the values are still the same. All right, and now for the array, let's see, -9, where we're removing 0. Okay. Is there something at index 0?
Yes.
Yeah, so that should be true.
Does the is equal function need to return a boolean?
No, because
Oh,
it's just yeah, there probably is a better name for this one. We could call it validate. How about that? That's a good catch. Validate is definitely a better word for it. So it validates that the answers are correct. So this time it should remove it, except for what's the answer going to be? Someone change it for me. All right, good job. All right. And the length should be 5. How are we doing? So far, so good. All right. Let's see, 5. Ooh. Oh, this is where things get a little tricky. So what if the size is 3 and we want to remove of 1? Oh man. Well, first off, we're first 3, removing 1 at 1, at index 1. Is that possible?
True.
Yeah, true. What's the answer going to be, though?
533.
All right, this is where things get a little weird. That's technically the answer, although you only have to validate that. Why is that one the actual answer? Even though that doesn't look right. Zero, 1, 2, yeah, so the size of 3. Ooh, it jumped around. So remember, when we pass it a size of 3, we're saying the array is only this length, right? So it's going to go down to 2 afterwards. So in reality, this is the answer, but the memory inside the array is going to still hold those values because they copied the 33 over for you. So that A and S is actually what the answer is, just to show you explicitly what's happening in memory. But we're only testing the first 2 elements, so that's why I only passed it a 2. Right here. Because if you read the instructions, removes an element at position index by shifting later elements left, implicitly left by 1. So it only shifted the 33 down. It didn't actually reduce the size of the array. We're not actually reducing the size of the array in this example because it's a straight C++ array, not a vector. So the number of bytes that it holds is still the same even though you've deleted an element. So that value is still there. Okay. Oops. All right. So if something's empty, even if you ask for it within bounds, it's still going to give you empty. Let's see. So we try and remove 89. That's still false. And let's go ahead and validate that. All right. Let me think. Any other good test cases we come up with? We did the beginning, we did removal at the end, right? That was up top, perfect. Did we remove in the beginning? Yeah, we removed in the beginning. I think that's pretty good right now. So I think we can just leave those test cases as they stand. And now let's see if it compiles. It did, great. Hey, it passed some of them. Right, because if it just returns false, then obviously it's going to pass on the first go. So that's nice. Oh. I'm going to push these test cases. Hopefully it should show you. The point of doing it this way is to show you that if you write your test cases first, life is going to be a lot easier. Or, well, hopefully it'll show that this lab's going to go real quick. Later labs, trust me, if you start running into problems, you need to start writing your test cases. When you come and ask me for help, and I will gladly help you, two things. First off, I will help you with compiler errors. Specifically, you come in, you have a compiler error, show me the compiler error. Come in and say, I have a compiler error I'm trying to fix, and then I will look at your computer. If it's not a compiler error, it's a problem with your code, I'm not going to look at your code. I'm going to ask for what your test cases are. So make sure, if it's compile and you can't get the right grade from the autograder, make sure you write test cases before you come and see me. Otherwise, I'm just going to tell you to write some test cases. All right? That's how it's going to be. You write some test cases, I'll be able to help you, because then you're giving me something to work with. All right, testing, don't need a main. It's due a week from today. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you add your CPP or your array CPP file into the test cases as well? I saw you had the header file in there.
No, because if you look at the make file, what's actually going to do is it actually pulls all the sources into one giant compile down here. So it automatically pulls your arrays.cpp into there. And that's how I was able to do it. Because if you look at our arrays.cpp, they're all empty, right? They're just returning something just to give us values to get us started. It's also good practice to work to using multiple files, because pretty much every real project has multiple files. Unless it's 1980 or something. I can't remember the last project that was on one file. Oh man. All right. Any other questions? These are good questions. Keep them coming. All right.